Hello, good evening, everyone. Good evening. Will you say it back? Y'all look rad out there, I have to say. I am impressed. I am amazed. You look incredible. I'm Chelly Canales. I am your MC for this evening and your partner in fundraising tonight. And I am so delighted to be here for the 2023 Evening to Elevate Educators to celebrate the mission and impact of Public Education and Business Coalition. Yes, big round of applause for PEBC. We're celebrating everything they've done over the past 40 years, and of course, educators. Are there any educators in the house tonight? Just guessing, yeah? So if you've attended this event in the past, thank you so much. Raise your hand if you're a repeat. Welcome back. And who here has never been to this event before? Oh, so many newbies. I love it. Welcome. So how many of you actually are educators? Show me. Oh, loving this. And who here loves an educator or is a big fan? Same. I am the daughter of an educator. My mother, she's retired, but she, 27 years worth of teaching, 12 at DPS, and she is, I know, woo! She is somebody who I respect more than anyone in this world. She is the hardest working. She has changed more lives than I can count. She's one of those teachers that people write about to this day. Mrs. Canales changed my life. And because she believed in me, because she did this, because she did that, I am where I am today. And I feel like there are many people in this room who have that same distinction. So can we just give a big round of applause for educators and the work that they do? Your work is essential. It is so important. So PEBC, this story goes back 40 years, hence our 80s beautiful attire. I'm going for Gem and the holograms myself. But we would be remiss if we didn't acknowledge this long, complex history that came before this. I'd like to introduce Brianna Mestis, Senior Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at PEBC.
Nanotoka Brianna Mestas, Soyausi Watsi. Good evening, my name is Brianna Mestas. And we're gonna start our evening with a land acknowledgement. A land acknowledgement is a powerful way of showing respect to the indigenous peoples of this land. It is also an opportunity to recognize the ancestral and occupied territories of Native peoples. The land we're on today, currently known as Denver, Colorado, is the traditional and ancestral homelands of the Arapaho, Cheyenne, and Ute. We also acknowledge that over 40 different indigenous nations continue to be in relations with the land currently called Colorado. Now, although land acknowledgements are a new practice for PEBC, they deeply align with our core values of human dignity, belonging, and impactful relationships. We are proud to begin this practice of Indigenous inclusion during Native American Heritage Month and know that Indigenous inclusion is an ongoing commitment and practice. Now, there are several ways that we can cultivate this practice as individuals and as a community. First, learn about the history, knowledge, and traditions of Indigenous peoples in the area, as well as their legacy of resistance to colonization, assimilation, and erasure. Second, reflect on your relationships to this land. We can ask ourselves, what is my personal history as a guest on this land? What are my responsibilities to this land? And what can I do to foster a more reciprocal relationship with this land? Finally, support Indigenous leaders, knowledge keepers, educators, businesses, artists, organizations, and organizing efforts. As Cherokee scholar Daniel Heath Justice says, guests on Indigenous lands must listen, learn, and walk gently. Latsokamati, thank you.
Thank you, Brianna. So an event like this to honor the history and celebrate the future of PEBC wouldn't be possible without the generous support of our sponsors. So we'd like to recognize them for their contributions. We can clap for each of them if you want. I'm not going to make you wait till the end because there are 5. Clap away. The Better Foundation. Boston Consulting Group. Chevron. Denver Museum of Nature and Science. J.P. Morgan Chase and Company. Let's give them a huge round of applause. Yes, and when you're around town and you visit one of these businesses, please let them know that you saw that they supported PEBC. They're not doing this because they're looking for kudos, of course, but it's so nice when somebody comes up to them and says, hey, I see the great work that you're doing in this community. One more big, huge, mega round of applause for our sponsors. And these are the title sponsors, but there are many more sponsors that we love and appreciate, and you'll be able to find those in your other materials. So those of you who are attending this event for the first time might not know exactly what PEBC does or who they serve or what impact that they have. And some of you know a lot about PEBC, but you may not know exactly what they've been up to lately and how they're positioned to have an even bigger impact in the future. So just a few cliff notes here. PEBC is an education nonprofit with a mission to cultivate educators worthy of each and every learner. They are a national nonprofit with 3 areas of focus to support educators. We've got teacher preparation, where they prepare new teachers for the classroom, professional development for educators and leaders, and education policy. You'll hear much more about these 3 areas of focus during the program, as well as PEBC's incredible 40 years of history. So, without further ado, I'd like to invite to the stage a longtime friend of PEBC, the Chief Executive Officer of the Better Foundation. Please welcome Katie Kramer.
It's a shame to stand behind the podium and you can't see my leg warmers. Shelley, thanks. I'm grateful to be here. But first, since we're among educators, I thought we'd start with a pop quiz that connects to tonight's 80s theme. So you're probably going to need a pen and paper for this one. No, you're not getting them out. Okay. All right, the quiz is just one question. What's Jenny's number? All right, I love it. Everybody got that, right? Yeah, all right. At the Better Foundation, we love data and numbers, including how to get a hold of Jenny. But for impact and influence, they create when we want to tell an influential narrative. One of the best themes of storytelling is one of partnership, and in particular when it comes to education and elevating the teaching profession. The partnership between PEBC and the Better Foundation is just that, one that spans decades. At Better, we believe in the promise of Colorado and the potential of Coloradans, and every day our work is to build up the doers and difference makers from across the state that work to elevate people, programs, and organizations. Because we know when we invest in Colorado leaders, we provide a foundation for transformational impact and community building. It was 20 years ago, 2003, when Better joined forces with PEBC to create the Better Teacher Residency, an alternative licensure program designed to train exceptional new educators. It was a visionary step at the time that addressed the growing need for high-quality educators in our Colorado schools. The work was a testament to a shared commitment to nurturing the teaching profession and improving educational outcomes for our kids. In 2015, the Better Teacher Residency merged with Stanley Teacher Prep, creating the PEBC Teacher Residency. To date, the Teacher Residency has trained more than 1,600 educators. 20 years since our partnership began, the Better Foundation is proud to say that PEBC is our largest grantee historically. In over 85 years, they're our largest grantee historically. Since 2004, we have supported the organization with more than $19 million to develop educators and improve student performance. Tonight, my job is to introduce Sue Sava, the president and CEO of PEBC. Since joining PEBC nearly a decade ago, Sue's leadership has been transformative. She has led PEBC through some of its most challenging times and brought the organization to a place of strength, financial sustainability, and growing a rock star team and building a positive organizational culture. Today, PEBC has the national reputation for shaping policies that emphasize student success and teacher retention. I have recently had the pleasure of interviewing Sue on Betcher's new podcast, Colorado Leadership Stories, where she shared her reflections on leadership, talked about PEBC's Pay for Success model, among other topics, and talked about her dad and her family of educators. It just dropped today, so on the way home, you could listen to Colorado Leadership Stories on Spotify or Apple or wherever you listen to your podcasts and hear the conversation. As a fourth-generation educator, Sue brings her whole heart and passion to work every day. It is my great honor to introduce my dear friend, Sue Sava, who reminds us that where you stand depends on where you sit. My friend, join me on the stage.
Well, for one, I'm happy to have the podium because I left my ego at the door when I got dressed tonight, people. What we wouldn't do for teachers. So good evening, everyone. Thank you, Garrett. It's an honor to be standing here tonight, celebrating the remarkable journey that brought us here and the incredible educators who are literally shaping the future of humanity. We have a few people in the room tonight that I want to introduce you to. First of all, we have our founders in the room. Susan Zimmerman, please stand. Gail Clapper, please stand. Ellen Keene, please stand. 40 years later, who would have thought? These women are literally responsible for the organization we're celebrating tonight and its impact, and we are so grateful to them. We're also honored to have Barb Volpe in the room. Barb Volpe, please stand up. Yes, ma'am. Barb led PEBC for 15 years between 1989 and 2004. And she was instrumental in building PEBC's education, business, and policy pillars. Her leadership solidified a foundation and built a reputation that has allowed us to thrive for 40 years. For those of you who know the Rocky Mountain School of Expeditionary Learning, where my husband taught for many years, Barb Volpe also founded REMSL. Give it up for Barb. Thank you, Barb. We also couldn't do what we do without the support of our magnificent State Board of Education, our local school board members, our government staff and admin, legislators and other elected officials. So please stand so we can give you a round of applause. Thank you, Director McClellan, Director Schroeder, Director Plomer. We see you in the back. My eyes just aren't that good anymore. There's our incredible board of directors at PEBC. They represent some of the hardest workers and people I'm proudest to know in the education and business communities. We're grateful for your support, your wisdom. We know it's an unpaid job. We definitely wouldn't be where we are today without each of you. So board, please stand up to be recognized. Thank you. Brooke Fleming, Mike Giles, Tiffany Bray, Kendi Rourke, Nick Jobe, Edwin Hudson, Kathy Plomer, Jill Hawley, Chris Skidowski. Hey, Chris, you're in the podcast Katie talked about earlier. Dan Galemba and Lauren Oken, I see you. Thank you. I also really, really, really want to recognize PEBC staff. We have grown to a staff of 60. We are working in 26 states. These people work tirelessly, and I mean tirelessly. They go out of their way every day to cultivate educators who are worthy of each and every learner. Staff, please stand up to be honored. Frank Reeves is already standing. Come on, folks. Yes, thank you, Jalen Jenkins, Annie Patterson. Jessamine, love the hairdo. Everybody's still working. Okay, finally, educators put 2 hands up. Rico Munn, I think you're still one of us. And everybody else in the room, stand up and honor them with a standing ovation. Let's go. Woo! Woohoo! My heart is so full. I've been asked to share a little bit about my personal journey with all of you. And Mom, I don't even know if you know this story. Now she's scared. But in 1983, the U.S. National Commission of Excellence in Education released a landmark report. Some of you are already knowing what I'm going to say. A Nation at Risk. And it demonstrated very clearly that our nation was failing our students. Well, at the time, I had parents, grandparents, and great-grandparents who were educators in classrooms in New Jersey and in Philadelphia. As I sat there reading the report in my parents' unfinished attic, I felt I needed to do something. So I wrote a letter. It's a little naive, people, but just bear with me. I wrote a letter to the Secretary of Education, William Bennett. And I do consider it my first act of civic engagement. My mother, much to her irritation in the 80s, was one of my biggest inspirations to become a teacher myself. Remember that, Ma? And she flew in tonight from New Jersey, and she was a classroom teacher for 30 years. So our team wanted me to just briefly tell you the story that my mother was honored at Princeton University as being an outstanding teacher in New Jersey when I happened to be studying there in the 80s. And ironically, I couldn't attend her celebration in Jadwin Gym because I had gotten chicken pox from the kid that I was babysitting trying to pay for my living expenses. Yeah, so my mother was next door at Princeton University in Jadwin Gym being honored as a Teacher of the Year, and I was in the infirmary swimming in oatmeal. So Mom, after all these years, thank you, well done, you inspire me and all of us. Thanks, Ma. So A Nation at Risk obviously helped to shape my passion for the profession, and guess what? The founders know, and I saw Liz Stedman nodding her head the minute I said the commission. It was the catalyst for forming PEBC. I'm extraordinarily proud to be representing what this organization has done together over 40 years. However, as a nation, most of you know, potentially all of you know, that we are dismally failing our students. I spent many years as a classroom teacher, and things have changed dramatically in the past few decades. All of us in the room can tell you. The landscape has completely shifted, and we're not doing near enough as a society to support educators through these massive shifts. Thank you, Susanna. Not surprisingly, there's now a dire teacher shortage across the country and here in Colorado. In Colorado, districts had to hire for about 15% of all teaching positions in the 22-23 school year. Almost 10% of those positions were unfilled for the entire school year, and 15% for some positions. So I want you to think about what this means for the educators sitting next to you. So with this level of understaffing on top of everything else, no wonder our teachers and our leaders, they're a little burnt. And there are no easy answers, and PEBC is not ever going to be a nonprofit that tells you there are. We're also not ones to shy away from a challenge. Our state ranks near the very bottom of the nation for school funding. We have bought off the budget stabilization factor, which, by the way, brings us to 1989 levels of funding, which is why we do policy at PEBC. We have a policy team that fights like hell at the Capitol all session long for whatever teachers and leaders tell us they need. Our goal is to improve the conditions under which teachers teach and to remove the barriers into and through the profession. We're fortunate that our state and many private funders are investing significant resources to recruiting new teachers into the profession. That has helped us to dramatically expand our teacher residency, where we train teachers like medical doctors. Our current cohort of residents is one of the largest and is the most diverse we've ever had. 32% of our current residents identify as teachers of color. Let's give it up for the recruitment team. Okay, we know recruitment is half the problem, and what's equally as important, maybe more, is retention. It's really important for us to retain our beloved educators. We are tackling the issue of teacher retention head on from as many angles as we can. We're providing excellent professional development to teachers and leaders because people who feel empowered in their jobs do better on behalf of kids and are more likely to stay in them. We also support the heck out of our teacher residents, not just during their training year, but for years afterward. 81% of our teachers are still in the classroom after 5 years, compared to about 50% as a national average. So we're recruiting, we're training, we're adapting to help support current educators when and how they need it. One of our most celebratory recent achievements is our partnership with Kaiser Permanente. Woo! This partnership has allowed us the ability to embed mental health supports into the training we provide to teachers and for their mentors. It's a significant step toward ensuring the well-being of those who dedicate their lives to shaping our collective future, not to mention the future of our economy and our workforce. Thank you, Kaiser. I'd be remiss not to mention the Colorado Safer Schools Initiative. We couldn't sit by any longer as teachers and students literally often fear for their lives when they go to school. So we co-created with Confluence Policy and Strategy Group, who's here in the room tonight, a convening to hear teachers and to hear what they need to feel safer in schools. Teachers feel safe, you know, they give off that vibe, students feel safe. Believe me, people, it's what we all want. We have the largest coalition in Colorado state history. We have over 200 stakeholders who come together every month. We have almost 100% of the entire Colorado delegation involved in how to make our schools safer so we can educate our kids. Together, we can ensure that teachers have what they need to feel safe, students have what they need to feel safe, and leaders have what they need to feel safe. Those of us who have studied psychology, Maslow's bottom rung, we don't learn when we're not safe. Our teachers and leaders and children deserve to be safe. So we are working on legislation this upcoming session around trauma-informed supports. So ask my colleagues Barrick, Carrie, Jamita, and Evan anything they need to know, or Michelle Forstadt-Nadell, as a matter of fact, about that legislation. I could keep going about PEBC's accomplishments over the last 40 years, but I'm going to stop, and I'm just going to share our call to action. You will have an opportunity in a few minutes to make a meaningful donation to help support our work, and we also want to tap into your expertise. That is equally important to us. So we also invite you to partner. Together we can discover your precise passions for elevating educators, and we can plug you into the system in a way that makes sense both for you and for them. In these polarized times, there's never been a more critical moment to get involved with supporting the next generation of our workforce. In the upcoming months, we'll be exploring new ways to support educators in navigating polarized communities. And to that end, I'm thrilled to introduce my dear friend, Dr. Katie Anthus, former Colorado Commissioner of Education, who has some exciting news to share. In your purple velour.
Okay.
I told you. I got it.
There's too many
It's too many
sequins.
sequins, and it's the wrist warmer.
Oh, Frank, I broke your wrist warmer. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm so happy to be with you all. Frank Coyne gave me these wristbands today, and they match my neon perfectly, so I was very excited. Anyway, I broke it now on her sequins. But I am so happy to be with you all tonight as your former commissioner. Much, much, much love and energy go to the current commissioner, Susana Cordova. I'm 150% supportive of her, but also thank you to PEBC who gave me an excuse to wear this velour tracksuit to a gala. When do you have that opportunity? So I'm thrilled. But because I have had the privilege of being with you each year on this night and working with PEBC over the years as commissioner, I wanted to drop by and say hi. And in the spirit of elevating educators and honoring the 80s, I wanted to tease out an idea with you. In my newfound peace and energy and spirit to support public education, I did a lot of thinking over the last couple months. This time I did it at a lake, not a mountain, if some of you know that old story. But I thought about what type of support does public education and do educators need right now? And what type of support do superintendents and others who have been talking to me over the last 10 years need? And to put it simply, it was bringing some relief and support to those in the middle of high conflict, polarized situations. So let me explain a little bit. I have a feeling that you all may find it difficult sometimes to make sustained progress on your strategic work, or to teach with passion, or to teach without walking on eggshells. You are navigating divisive semantics, culture wars, intense ideologies that often, in the end of the day, have very little to do with progressing student progress forward. Does that any of that ring true to you all? I see some nods. I mean, everyone is walking on eggshells. You say one wrong thing on either side of the aisle or within your own aisle, and all of a sudden things are spinning out of control, and you're taken off your task, off your main priorities, and you're focused on that. School boardrooms, town halls, sometimes legislators devolve into shouting matches, paralysis, or even worse, time spent on what matters least. So superintendents are losing and leaving their jobs too easily, too quickly. Teachers are doing the same thing, and that is, we can all agree on that. That is not good for kiddos. So you don't have to take it from me, you all are living this, but from the State House to the schoolhouse, things are becoming growingly, increasingly negative and divisive. So I'm not saying we shouldn't have conflict. Conflict is a bedrock of our democracy, right? We need to have diverse ideas, differing opinions, we need to come to the table, we need to talk about those things, but how we do it is important. So with the power of my 80s tracksuit, I am going to work on this with PEBC, and hopefully you, by supporting you all and others, to build our good conflict muscles. So we have sort of been steeped in bad conflict muscles. We need to build and skill up our good conflict muscles. Muscles like curiosity, disagreement, problem solving, bringing new ideas to bear, and then maybe even going to have dinner or to a Little League game with the people you disagree with. I have done it. It is possible. So I'm working with PEBC to create Forward, From Polarization to Progress initiative that's focused on the simple principles of good conflict. Be curious, be respectful, and build bridges. And while today is just a teaser again, it isn't all developed yet. I don't officially start until December 1st. We did want to get a sense from you. Is this something you're interested in? Is this something you would engage in? All right, that's good. That's good. So I can't take up too much time tonight, but there are half sheets of paper, half sheets cards on your table. You can either write in legible handwriting. You're all teachers, legible. Please prove to me that I was correct in not putting handwriting in the state standards, because if I'm not correct, I will tell Susana to put them in the state standards. We have a QR code, and you can use that if you're more technologically savvy. But let me know if you're interested in participating. Let me know if you're interested in joining a book club on high conflict. Let me know if you think your team or you yourself could use any one-on-one coaching around leading in highly polarized times. And so with that, thank you for having me. Thank you for letting me continue to support your journeys. And let me thank PEBC for letting me wear this tracksuit tonight.
And she bought two, so one might be up on eBay tomorrow. So without further ado, I would love to introduce my dear and longtime friend, Dr. Ashley Sadler. She is a former PEBC board member. She is now a PEBC staff developer. She is a UVA district support chief, and she is here to present this year's Carolyn Hambidge Award. Thank you, Ashley.
Okay, since y'all all know Jenny's number, what kind of beret was she wearing? Okay, y'all passed. All right, good deal. So tonight is all about celebrating educators, and I'm honored to recognize an extraordinary one, the winner of the 2023 Carolyn Hambidge Award. Carolyn Hambidge is a longtime friend of PEBC and one of the founders of the Stanley British Primary School. Carolyn and former First Lady B. Romer, who we lost this year, founded Stanley 50 years ago to create a warm, creative, developmentally appropriate, inclusive, diverse, intellectually expansive, and experiential learning environment. Carolyn and Stanley British Primary School have had a deep and lasting impact on education in Colorado, as well as on PEBC. Several PEBC staff trained as teachers there and spent part of their careers there or chose Stanley for their own children. My own kids are Stanley graduates, and I saw Brett, one of their former teachers, here today. And Stanley was monumental in establishing a love of learners for both of my children. One of the greatest gifts that Carolyn Hambidge and Stanley have given to our state was creating Colorado's first alternative licensure program, which my husband was a recipient of, and the first teacher residency, which merged with the Betcher teacher residency in 2015 to become the PEBC teacher residency. The PEBC teacher residency is now the largest program of its type in the state and has trained over 1,600 teachers. Can we give a round of applause for that? The Carolyn Hambidge Award honors an exceptional PEBC teacher residency alumnus. This year's Carolyn Hambidge Award winner is early childhood educator Erin Hepp. Erin is a model of Carolyn's vision for helping young children embrace the joy of learning. She helps students find and recognize their strengths, all while encouraging a growth mindset and models that mindset herself. Her mentors describe her as someone who constantly reflects and looks for ways to improve and encourages her students to do the same. We are so incredibly thrilled to honor Erin with the Carolyn Hambidge Award. Please welcome Erin to the stage.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for those kind words. I find it so humbling. Oh my gosh. I find it so humbling to be standing up here, especially when I know so many talented early childhood educators. And I've admired Carolyn Hambidge ever since I first visited Stanley as a potential site for my residency, and it is a great honor to be recognized for this award and for my name to be said in the same sentence as hers. Growing up, I never considered becoming a teacher, despite being told that I might be pretty good at it. I wanted to be an architect or a cartographer, a STEM queen. But alas, COVID struck just as I was finishing college, and I found myself working at an elementary school back home in Wisconsin. It was a challenge at first, but I grew to love it. When I moved to Colorado to work at an outdoor education center, I realized I loved teaching, seeing curiosity bloom and risks taken, but I could not work with fifth graders forever. I would rather be with the 5-year-olds. So I figured the next step was to become a classroom teacher, which then led me to PEBC's teacher residency. While a resident, I was able to engage with peers and experts weekly and my mentor daily. I prepared to testify in the House in support of educator financial assistance. I observed teachers in lab classrooms. I learned about the brain, how to be culturally responsive, about child development. I learned what a bedrock early childhood education is, because what students are learning during these formative years sets them up for the rest of their lives. And just as they are growing every single day, I am too. Like how to have that childlike wonder when a strange bug lands on someone's arm, or at the thought of getting to play in the rain. Every day in ECE classrooms, we get to celebrate the magic of what it means to be a human. How amazing would our world be if we all did that every day? A lot of people have helped me get to this point, and I'd like to shine a light on them. Thank you to my family, especially my oldest brother, who has tolerated all of my terrible storytelling. Thank you to all of the friends who have cheered me on from the sidelines. Thank you to my mentor, Tara, to Parthenia, and to Grayland. Thank you to everyone at PEBC, especially Tracy Wagers, Lynn Forstadt, and Dr. Carrie Colley. Your guidance, support, and coaching has transformed the teacher I am and will continue to become. Also, massive shout out to the policy team and the Betcher Foundation. Without all of your dedication, I would not have been able to focus my time and energy on the residency program. And finally, a humongous thank you to all of my fellow residents who have now become friends. Without you and everything we shared together last year, I would not be up here with a state of Colorado approved teaching license. Looking back, thank you. Looking back, I can now say last year was so hard, yet so worth it. Carolyn's work and impact in education is incredibly inspiring and motivating as I start my career as an educator. Thank you.
So wait, don't go anywhere. So we have this beautiful bouquet of flowers for you, just as a small recognition and token for this outstanding award. Your speech was beautiful and very heartwarming, and definitely reiterates that we need early childhood educators in our system, because they are the bedrock. So
Thank you.
you can leave those here, or you can come back and get them if you want. Okay, okay.
Congratulations, Erin. Thank you for all that you do. It's an honor to honor you. So today's students are tomorrow's workforce, and the business community has an important reason to get involved with public education to make sure students are prepared when they graduate. Business is the B in PEBC, and they have been honored to support and have partnership from some of Colorado's biggest economic players. I'd like to introduce a member of PEBC's Board of Directors, Kendi Ruark, the Managing Director, Regional Director of Consumer Banking at JP Morgan Chase. Welcome, Kendi.
Thank you. And Sue, if only I could have been with you to get my hair done tonight. It would have been perfecto. I love it. So it's so wonderful to be here with all of you tonight. So welcome to all of my fellow supporters of PEBC. As she shared, I'm Kendi Ruark with JP Morgan Chase, and as a board member of PEBC and a parent of two wonderful children enrolled in our public school system, one in kindergarten and one in second grade. My connection to this remarkable organization is both deeply personally and professionally meaningful. And I'd like to start just by sharing what PEBC means to me, and also why PEBC holds a significance of importance to JP Morgan Chase. And first and foremost, just on a personal level, PEBC, it really resonates with me as a parent. And as I watch my kids navigate their educational journeys, I am reminded daily of the vital role that educators play in shaping their future. PEBC's mission of recruiting, training, developing, and supporting educators ensures that our children have access to the highest quality of education, and that teachers are empowered with the tools and the knowledge to guide our young learners toward success. The impact of PEBC's work extends beyond the classroom, touching the lives of families like mine and giving us all hope for a brighter future. Now, why is PEBC significant to an organization as large as JP Morgan Chase? You know, it's JP Morgan Chase's strong belief that our success in business is inherently tied to the well-being of our communities. We recognize that well-educated and a highly skilled workforce is not only vital for the success of our employees, but also for the growth and the prosperity of the communities that we serve. Education is the cornerstone of a thriving society, and PEBC's dedication to improving education aligns perfectly with our corporate values at JP Morgan Chase. By supporting PEBC, we are investing in our future. We are investing in the future of where our children receive a well-rounded education, where educators are empowered to excel, and where our communities prosper as a result. Our partnership with PEBC is a testament to our commitment to corporate social responsibility, our dedication to nurturing the future talent of our communities, and our belief in the transformative power of education. I want to thank you all for being here tonight, for your unwavering support of PEBC, and for joining us in our shared mission for shaping a brighter future, for a more promising future for our children and our communities. Together, all of us can make a real difference. It's now my pleasure to introduce our Colorado Commissioner of Education, Susana Cordova. Susana has spent more than 30 years in education. She served as an assistant principal, a principal, director, a chief academic officer, chief schools officer, and deputy superintendent before becoming the superintendent of Denver Public Schools. In June of this year, Susana was named as Colorado's 18th Education Commissioner and the first Latina to hold the state's top education position. Please joining me in a warm welcome to Susana Cordova.
So I'm worried that this might be the part where the performance gets really super cringy. Because when I heard that we were doing this thing for the PEBC and it was all 80s themed, I was like, oh, like Sue is so inspiring and creative. I gotta do something super creative. So we'll see how it goes. I'm not really talented, but I got inspired to do this. So let's see how this turns out, okay? So you like help me out with this a little bit, okay? Ready? Sitting at my desk, I hear the school bell ring. It's time to learn. Cutting out circles, little bodies start to squirm. I'm wondering how to do this. I'm gonna jump on in, 'cause mentors will guide me. PEB after the homework's turned in and the lessons planned. I'm deep in reflection. My mentor will be at hand. Listen, I hear her say, you're gonna be okay. We're here to help you stay. Wanna teach kids you'll reach how to get a job, PEBC. Career change, rearrange, you don't have to sob, PEBC. Wanna teach kids you'll reach, oh you will be great, PEBC. We need more, help us score, and please donate, PEBC. There you go. Okay, that's it. That's the PEBC. So happy to be here. Sue, I love you.
PEBC's got talent. Yes. Thank you, Commissioner Cordova. That was educational and fun. How am I supposed to follow that? Now it is my pleasure to celebrate another outstanding educator. Here to introduce the brand new Joe Blake Award is Annie Patterson, Senior Director of Lab Networks at PEBC. Welcome, Annie.
Oh my gosh, Susanna, following you, that's amazing. Wow. It is my distinct honor to introduce our newest award at PEBC, the Joe Blake Phenomenal Teacher Award. Joe believed that great cities are made up of great schools, and that great schools are only possible because of great teachers. A Denver native, he grew up right here in Park Hill and graduated from East High School, where he served as head boy. A business leader, Joe prioritized quality schools, which is why 40 years ago, when asked to join the board of the newly formed Public Education Coalition, he jumped at the chance and to serve on our board. Joe went on to serve his community as the president and CEO of the Denver Metro Chamber of Commerce, and later as the chancellor of Colorado State University. Joe was also my dad, a true champion of education. The spirit of the Joe Blake Phenomenal Teacher Award is to recognize the phenomenal teaching of a PEBC lab host. Our lab hosts are reflective practitioners who bring research-based best practices to life in their daily work with students. They open up their classrooms to teachers, offering a source of inspiration, providing a vision of what's possible. for learners and humbly sharing their journey and insights with colleagues from across the nation. This award includes a $1,000 stipend and will become part of the PEBC tradition from now on. Our first two recipients were unanimously chosen by the professional learning team. Their classrooms are truly worthy of students, and their work grounded in developing agency, promoting equity, and growing understanding. The first recipient this evening is a phenomenal educator who has been teaching over 34 years. She is currently teaching kindergarten at Little Elementary School. She has been a math host for over 15 years with us, teaching her kindergarten mathematicians to be flexible problem solvers who can tackle any problem that comes their way. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Carrie Hallbash.
Thank you. This is such a great honor, and I just have to say before I say anything else, we have such, as educators, you develop such close families within your buildings. We were surprised, Susan and I, by our family from Little Elementary back there with shirts on for us and everything. Love you guys, thank you. It means the world to us. I also have to thank my father and my oldest daughter also being here in attendance tonight. So, when I was reflecting on when Annie called and told me, and first of all, she called me on a day where I needed that phone call. And I was at school and I was on my planning period and we're virtual and I just start bawling. And it just, since then, I've just been doing a lot of reflecting. And I was just thinking about it, because we were given the option, you can talk or you can just say thank you. I was like, I'm just gonna say thank you. Just because it's so scary. And then I just started thinking about it. And so I just want to really, what I want to say is I just want to thank other phenomenal teachers. And so I'm going to start with just that my whole life has been touched by phenomenal teachers. And it all began with my mom and dad. I spent my childhood in their classrooms, watching them foster loving communities with students and families. Thanks, Mom and Dad. Then halfway through my career, I was blessed with Susan McIver. She brought the world of workshop and PEBC to me. Thank you, Susan, for being my mentor and my model of phenomenal teaching. Thank you, PEBC, and all of the staff for opening the door to professional learning, conversations, and experiences that helped me become the teacher I'd always wanted to be. Thank you to Annie for finding me a place in PEBC and for believing in me. Thank you, Wendy, for being my coach, my mentor, my inspiration, and my thought partner. I am a better person and teacher because of my relationships and experiences with my students and their families and my teaching partners. Thanks to all who have supported me on this wonderful journey. I feel so tall. I know, wait, hold on my phone. I had my speech on my phone.
Our next recipient has been teaching 31 years and is currently teaching kindergarten at Aspen Creek K-8. She has spent the last 22 years as a PEBC lab host, demystifying the reading process. She truly lives the thinking strategies, and it is incredible to be in her classroom and have the chance to watch readers grow as the world opens up to them. Ladies and gentlemen, Susan MacGyver.
My husband and my daughter know that this is my dream, a microphone and 400 people. So thank you, PEBC, for this honor. These last 25 years being a part of this community has been full of moments and relationships that have impacted me as a professional and a human being. It all began when Foster Elementary contracted with PEBC to provide school-wide professional development. Joy Hood, the principal, hired me to work at Foster Elementary. At that time, the universe knew I was in need of a strong force in my life. The universe sent me 3 women, Joy being one of them. Joy was the first person who showed me that she truly believed in me as a person and a classroom teacher. Her support for me was palpable. I could feel her warmth and gentle nudges. Joy's belief in me was a moment of impact. Ellen Keene, walking in to Foster Elementary's library, was another moment of impact. You changed me that day, Ellen. I could see the kind of teacher I wanted to be. I became a reader after meeting you. I became a risk taker. I became a teacher who was grounded in the belief system that all kids are brilliant, worthy, and capable. I joke that I can still remember the outfit you wore that day. It was blue with pearls. But that day for me was a game changer. Cheryl Zimmerman was there too in Foster's library. She wore a pink floral dress and strappy sandals. Cheryl read "See the Ocean Aloud" to us. She paused to share her thinking. She asked us to share our thinking. We all shouted, "The baby is blind! The baby is blind!" That single experience as a reader who is also a thinker left a deep impression in my heart. I wanted to be the kind of teacher who offered these types of experiences to young children every day. Sue Kempton and Debbie Miller came into my teaching life next. They were my idols. Watching them in their incredible classrooms was the best professional development I have ever been a part of. They taught me about language, think time, the power of recording our thinking, sharing our in-the-head processes, making it public so everyone can learn. The moments of impact were a mess. My friends and I used to write WWDD on our wrists. What would Debbie do? We all wanted to be just like Debbie Miller. Barb McAllister, Carol Hawkins, Nancy Buckheltz, Michelle DeMolin, Kirsten Myers-Blake, Jana Durbin, Mary Court, Anna, Carla Randall, Michelle Jones, Sathia, Annie, Wendy, Leanna, Risa. Your classrooms, your work, your children have fed me for so many years. Our conversations, wonders, inquiries were full of impactful moments. Each of you lives in my heart. To my friends at Little Elementary, we charted a course to grow as teachers. We read books, visited classrooms. You let me into your classrooms to work with your students. It was an incredible time. In those years, we learned so much, refined our practices, worked to put our beliefs into routines, rituals, opportunities, and experiences. Those years were the best, and I love you. Patrick Allen. Oh, so many moments together have impacted me in so many ways. Being in your presence as you work with readers has been a gift. You are the best of the best. I hang on your every word, every move, every chart, every book. Thank you for inviting me into your circle. Thank you for traveling with me. Thank you for believing in me. Thank you for being my friend. My sweet Lori Conrad, I wish you were here tonight. You and your beautiful self have impacted me in every way. I can't quite find all the words to let you know how much you mean to me. You are my teacher, my mentor, my model, my support, my cheerleader, my friend. Carrie Hallbash, you, that's all I can say. And Brian, you have been by my side for every moment, building bookshelves, lowering whiteboards, hanging string across the ceiling, not letting me know you notice all those books arriving on our porch from Amazon. Your support, your belief in me, your love, it's everything. Paige, I've experienced thousands of impactful moments over the years. Being your mom is the best thing that has ever happened to me. I love you. PEBC is doing the right work, the hard work, the necessary work, impacting teachers all over the country. It is important that we continue this type of work for teachers and children and our planet. I feel so honored and humbled to be a part of this incredible organization. Thank you.
Congratulations, Susan, Carrie, and thank you, Annie, for presenting. How lucky are these kids to have these educators? I mean, it can't be overstated. If you think about it, you're seeing how this all works, right? The ripple effect. Support the educator supports the kids. This is how it goes, and this is why we're here today. So it is, yeah, let's give a round of applause for that. We got to keep that going. The work here tonight is so important. It is now my pleasure to introduce one of the co-founders of PEBC, Susan Zimmerman. Susan is the founder and former executive director of PEBC and is an author of the educational bestsellers Mosaic of Thoughts, 7 Keys to Comprehension and Comprehension, see, that's why it's important, Comprehension Going Forward. Thousands of educators and students have benefited from her vision. Let's give a huge warm welcome to Susan Zimmerman.
First, I think you should know that Gail Clapper and I started this organization when we were 12. I'm just back from California, and I spent a lot of time hiking in giant redwood forest. And just listening to the remarks of the people here, I feel like we planted this seed, and these huge, marvelous trees have grown. And it's just so moving and profound for me to be here and see it. But since it's a night of nostalgia, I want to share one story. In the early 1990s, we had a pretty amazing partnership with the Colorado Outward Bound School. And we would take teachers and principals and parents to Leadville, Colorado, and we would do Outward Bound courses. And this particular course was with educators from around the country. So we came to day 3 of our time in Leadville, and it was the day for rock climbing. And we went rock climbing. We went to Camp Hale, which is where the 10th Mountain Division trained in World War II. And as we come up in our buses to Camp Hale, we look across and we see these cliffs. And our hearts are pounding and we think, oh, okay, yeah, right. And we go over, and over the course of the day, with phenomenal instruction from these outward bound instructors, everyone, all shapes, sizes, ages, get up to those cliffs. There were 4 different routes, and they climbed to the top. At about 2 in the afternoon, the sky gets dark, the wind picks up, and in typical Colorado fashion, one of those late afternoon storms is coming in. So we go back to the buses. And then we realize, oh no, there's someone who's still out there on the cliff. It was Rebecca. She was an African-American woman from New Orleans. She had never been west. She'd never been to Colorado, certainly never to the Rocky Mountains, certainly never rock climbing, but she had chosen to climb a route called Pink Lady. And it was called Pink Lady because it had this beautiful pink quartz that coursed through it. And there was Rebecca plastered to Pink Lady as the rain begins. We get beneath her and we start yelling, "You can do it, Rebecca, you can do it, just concentrate." And the more we yell and encourage her, the more she's plastered to that cliff. The problem with Pink Lady is it had a lip that you had to climb over, and she just couldn't get over it. Finally, one of the outward bound instructors says, "Shh, be quiet." And she gets up and she says, "Rebecca, remember, if you can't get out of it, get into it." It was as if all of the forces of the universe converged. She made it over the lip, and she fell into the arms of a big white guy from LA. So that evening, when we're debriefing and feeling so proud of what she had done, she says to us, "Look, Pink Lady was scary, but it was nothing compared to falling into the arms of a big white guy from LA." It was the time of Rodney King. I mean, LA was on fire. You know, it was the riots and everything. So you never know what's going to happen until you do those debriefs. But that motto, it is the motto of the Hurricane Island Outward Bound School. If you can't get out of it, get into it. And that is what the PEBC has done time and time and time again, and is doing so well now. We all know there is nothing more important for our country, ever, more important now than it was in 1983, than having a good public education system. We need it for our democracy. And we need it for our economy, as we heard from from Kendi earlier. We need it to be a healthy, functioning country. I look out to this room and I think back to the early days of the PEBC, and there were 3 things that really came to mind. One was rigorous inquiry. Rigorous inquiry. The second was empowerment of teachers and children. And the third was love. Love of learning and love of learners. And I really think there were so many driving forces, but those 3 things crystallized it. And being here tonight and listening to these wonderful people who have just carried the torch forward and made it grow and grow, it leaves me truly, truly speechless. Ellen Keene deserves so much credit because she was my first hire. She was my first hire at the PEBC, And she really changed the face of the staff development, the impact on teachers broadly throughout the country. So they say that great teachers challenge children's minds without losing their own. Teachers are society's heroes. It's that simple. And I just love thinking about that adage. Teamwork is how we make the dream work. And Sue, Sava, you've taken it over. You're doing a magnificent job. Now, let's see more about how this dream has worked. Thank you all so much. If you're going to have a healthy city, you need to have a healthy school system.
PEBC believes each and every child deserves a great educator. We work in Colorado and across the nation to prepare outstanding new teachers, help practicing educators become exceptional, and shape policies that foster vibrant growth and lasting student success. We are a nonprofit organization with 3 main areas of focus: professional learning, teacher preparation, and education policy.
So it's really about listening, and it's, I guess, such a simple concept, isn't it? But I think that's its staying power.
In 1983, PEC, now PEBC, was created, and it changed the trajectory of education here in Colorado and around the country. The education landscape was vastly different in the early 1980s, and there were many problems to be solved.
And we began to imagine what a coalition might do to make an appreciable difference in public education.
We started off with strictly writing, a writing workshop approach.
We had this body of research, and Ellen was a marvelous expert in that. But then it was years of using it in classrooms and seeing the impact.
In 1997, Ellen Oliver Keene and Susan Zimmerman published the groundbreaking book, Mosaic of Thought, Teaching Comprehension in a Reader's Workshop. This book drew thousands of teachers to Denver wanting to work and observe PEBC teachers and staff in classrooms.
Everyone started to realize that we were onto something big, and how could we make it manageable and, have lots of lab classrooms and people visiting and just talking together about the work.
We've spent the past 40 years building upon that professional learning work, striving to create learning experiences for educators that are by teachers, for teachers, and with teachers.
We go to their spaces. We spend time alongside leaders, being thought partners, being collaborators, being co-designers, being co-facilitators, all in service of the school's strategic plan, their goals, their mission. So although we bring a great deal to it, we're always driven by the school and the district's work.
The very important thing that happened in the evolution of the Public Education Coalition was to have the teachers become the teachers. And that was a change that was as important as anything that the organization has ever done.
In 2003, PEBC began preparing new high-quality teachers. That year, PEBC and the Boettcher Foundation partnered to establish the Boettcher Teacher Residency, or BTR. BTR was inspired by a program created at the Stanley British Primary School in 1991. BTR merged with Stanley Teacher Prep to form the PEBC Teacher Residency.
Our retention is really kind of what speaks for itself, where 81% of our graduates are still teaching after 5 years compared to the national average of about 55%.
One way PEBC stands apart is the organizational trend of publishing engaging teacher practitioner books that teachers want to read together.
I would like to think that our books gave teachers support in the classroom, perhaps hope that they could help kids who are still striving as they go through the grade levels.
I think this idea of it being
collaborative and collegial was a huge thing for me because I didn't think of myself as a writer in any way, shape, or form.
They're easily read, you can easily engage them, and you can easily try what's suggested, and then you see, talk about contagion. Engagement is contagion.
And so I had the great opportunity to work with colleagues from all different content areas and really explore that idea of teaching for understanding. And that's where the first draft of what we now call our PEBC teaching framework emerged, was us coming to consensus based on our research and observation of what high quality teaching looked like that was transferable from content area to content area.
What I love most about this organization is our ability to pivot and adapt and be responsive to what teachers and leaders need today.
One of the most amazing things that PEBC has done is really trusted me to go out in the field and work with teachers across the country, and just those teachers allowing me into their classrooms and getting to work with them, cry with them, do professional development with them has just been a wealth of knowledge.
There's always opportunities to grow, and the PEBC staff developers get that, have been with me in my career every step of the way, and I am the coach and educator I am today because of the support I've gotten from the PEBC.
I think about that same sort of lifelong learning trajectory for sure. And I think about, as an organization, our responsibility to continue to elevate the teaching profession. It's so profound and impactful. And the responsibility to continue to shape education policy, to extend and expand the incredible work happening in classrooms.
Things have changed a lot in 40 years, and we've adapted along the way to support educators.
In terms of our diversity, equity, and inclusion work, it's absolutely critical to everything we do at PEBC.
And we're going to make it so that it is built into the systems. It's baked into how we're doing and doesn't just live with these key people who are leading initiatives.
Our policy program and department really focuses on access to the profession and really supporting educators so that they're able to be at their best. Our largest policy accomplishment to date is Senate Bill 185, and that bill created the Educator Recruitment and Retention Program and the Teacher Recruitment and Education Program.
And the unique board of directors has helped PEBC greatly expand their reach.
Thinking about expanding in the rural communities and expanding even more so in our urban communities. I want PEBC to be at the tips of everyone's tongues when they think about, hey, we need someone around policy work, PEBC.
There is so much optimism for the future.
My hope is that we really create a sustainable future for all of our educators so that they're able to give students the best learning as possible.
We have an incredible amount of power in terms of who we touch and so who we impact. And so my hope is that we can just continue to recognize that power and leverage the relationships and partnerships that we have.
Let us be with one another and ask our questions and figure this out. I think that's a legacy that keeps on going.
I just hope that PEBC and all of us continue to spread the joy of learning and teaching and getting kids excited about what we do, because that's what's fun. It's fun to see the light bulb go off and seeing teachers and educators really love learning and teaching.